Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Aquarius energy. And for this round, we're going to do this 10 card spread. And we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because life's about learning lessons. And, you know, we all have our shadowy nature, which can be our fear and our insecurity and our pride and our ego and self-centered nature and immature nature. And some people have learned some more lessons than other people and have kind of tempered their more immature, egoic nature. And so the way they would harness this energy would be different than other people. So we're going to read it from the perspective of what some people who have learned some more lessons in life than some other people, what they might be doing in their life and how they're harnessing this energy, and how some people that might be a little more worldly or a little bit more shadowy might be harnessing it. And it might be something that Aquarius energy in general might be dealing with that affects them more maybe than the rest of us, but we all tap into Aquarius energy. It has to do with how we view life, if we kind of view life from a higher perspective, or if we're kind of caught up in ourself and the world, or ourself. And so it could be something that affects all of us. And just like all the other zodiac sign traits and characteristics, we all tap into them, and we're kind of looking for people who kind of are on the same page as us, you know, emotionally, creatively, inspirationally, in our worldly nature, in our thoughts and our dreams and our truth. So I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading, and it is the Two of Swords, which has to do with that it's Libra energy, kind of represented by the scales of justice, and it kind of talks about the fact that we do have our dualistic nature. We can choose to be more about ourselves in the world, or we can listen to our more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And then the Two of Swords can mean that we maintain balance within ourselves. We've all got kind of our more immature, self-indulgent, fearful nature, but high vibe people offer truth and love and compassion to themselves, to not let their kind of more shadowy nature run their life, and they maintain balance within themselves. Other people could like to stay in denial of the truth, is what the Two of Swords can represent. And some of those people could be living their life a little more shadowy, and they don't even know it. For some, for others, they don't want to see the truth of it. And other people just feel stuck because they can't decide what they want. You know, we have to make decisions in life. And some people might like to be more hopeful and believing in themselves and in their dreams, but that can be a little scary. If you're going to do love, you get hurt doing love. What if you go pursue your dreams and you put yourself out there and it doesn't work out? And some people can get all caught up in their head. This is what Aquarius energy can talk about. What if I get hurt? Or what if it doesn't work out? And so then they kind of give up. And in high vibe, the Two of Swords talks about listening to your intuition instead of more your fear or your insecurity. So the end result after this story is people are going to move forward in a way that they think will be victorious. If they think, I don't want to pick a path, I maybe haven't learned enough lessons in life, I still don't know for sure what I want to do, or they just have a lot more lessons to learn in life, they're going to keep moving forward in that energy. Other people who think, no, I am about me and the world and these things I want to indulge in, or what I think is important more so than love, I'm going to keep moving forward in that type of energy. That's emotionally what I'm invested in. And the people who have done the work within themselves to temper their ego, get balance within themselves, love and believe in themselves, those people are moving forward from a foundation of love. Because the Chariot is Cancer energy, but in our Cancer energy also, we could love the world. We could be more about ourselves. Or high vibe, Strength card, Empress, and Five of Pentacles is when my intuition tells me that if I keep repeating a certain pattern and way of living life, I might be repeating that pattern more because of my fear of moving forward. And high vibe people offer themselves love and encouragement to not be manipulated by their fear and their insecurity and their pride and their ego. And the way they've been living their life has already kind of something about it seems lacking in abundance, is what the Five of Pentacles can talk about. Some of those people could have been dealing with Libra, or they were just dealing with people who they weren't on the same page with. Their truth was different than your truth, you know? And we can all feel stuck about that because we'd all like the things that we thought were going to work out the way we wanted, that we thought it was going to be just and fair. We thought we were going to give birth to something new. We've all been left out in the cold, right? And it didn't work out the way we wanted. And then if we go through this process of doing the inner work to work through our fears and insecurities and our self-limiting beliefs and our fear of having a new beginning and figuring out, learning how to love ourselves, and then we can get to a place of reconciling ourselves with the past, is what the Six of Cups can talk about. And, you know, because we don't want to stay stuck. And then we do this work within ourselves to detach from the energy within ourselves that tempts us to keep repeating that old pattern instead of moving forward in life. And when we detach from harnessing this energy in a more worldly, shadowy way, we're kind of not the same person that we were before. And some of the things we might have liked to have done in our life, some of the people we might have been friends with, or jobs we might have had, we're kind of not the same person. And, you know, just like when we were 15 and 18 and 21 and 25, we felt a certain way, we viewed life a certain way, we kind of hung out with people who viewed life the same way we did. When we've done some of this work within ourselves at any of those stages of life to move forward, kind of out of love for ourselves, that I don't want to keep being like a 15-year-old or an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old, or, you know, I face my fears, I reconcile, and come to a place of balance that could have been great to live my life that way at those different ages. Yeah, but I'm not the same person I was, you know? And maybe back then, the difference between the Eight of Swords and the Two of Swords is the Six of Swords, which is Aquarius energy. You know, what my truth was then, and kind of what drove and motivated me, and what I thought seemed victorious and successful, that changes over time. You know, again, we can really relate to it in those younger ages of life, because when we're young, we're changing a lot. We're learning lots of new things. As we get older, it might be bigger spans of time, like 5 years and 10 years and 20-year chunks of time. But when we're young, we're learning so many new things. And as we learn new things, we can still have fear of letting go of an old way of living life and facing our fears and believing we can be victorious, is what the Chariot talks about going to that next phase of life. But we don't want to kind of get left behind like we did back then when we were younger. Like, gosh, all my friends learned how to get a job, or they learned how to drive, and eventually they all moved out of home, and they might have went to college, or they might have went and gotten a job. You know, there can be a lot of worldly pressure that kind of forces us to face our fears. And even though at times we don't want to, and we don't want to become, high vibe energy is about becoming independent of an old way of living life and viewing life. And even we could have known some people that were very hard to get out of those certain stages of life, even when they were younger, because, well, I want to stay at home, and I don't want to go get a job, and I don't want to have to face my fears. And, you know, they could have been a little more slower moving than some other people in kind of going with the flow of life. But we do have to be willing to detach from an old way of viewing life, which can be Aquarius energy, or being more about ourselves, or wanting to be more indulged in a relationship. And hopefully over time, we learn to take over the role of being a loving and nurturing person to ourselves. The Six of Cups can talk about when we were young and when we were growing up. You know, we all could have had a lot of fears and insecurities. We didn't really believe in ourselves, maybe, and believe in our dreams. And we had loving and encouraging people in our life, hopefully, and friends and stuff like that, and environments that kind of helped encourage us to keep moving forward and to believe in ourselves and maybe help us work through some of our fears and our insecurities and overcome some pain or heartbreak and things like that. But we're not children anymore. And some people learned over the course of life and years of life experience to love and believe in themselves, to I view the strength card as Leo energy of learning to be a life-giving force like within yourself. I have free will. I can belittle and berate myself all day, and the whole world can too. But am I going to be loving and encouraging to myself? And in High Vibe, the Empress talks, and the feminine figures talks about how we think and feel. Emotionally, am I going to offer love and encouragement and believe that try to do what I can do to offset my fears and my insecurities to not keep moving forward in like a lack mentality or I'm not good enough or nothing ever works out for me. Well, we'll prove ourselves true. So some people thought, well, I certainly don't want to keep moving forward in lack mentality. I don't want to keep feeling left out in the cold. And I don't control anyone else in the world. The only person whose life I am responsible for loving and nurturing and healing and growing really ultimately is myself. And everyone else has to take responsibility for that within themselves. Can I be a loving and encouraging person to other people who feel left out in the cold and have a lack mentality? Yes. But until they decide to do that work within themselves to reconcile themselves with issues from their past and let go of the past or old dreams, because I guess I kind of look at it that everything that happens in our life is an opportunity for us to learn more lessons in life and help us get more clear about our truth. And when things don't work out the way we want, and we could have been immature, we could have been more stubborn or prideful or manipulative or self-centered or self-focused or caught up in things in the world, and we can get in relationships with other people that are in that type of energy, and everybody's kind of in their own, everybody's got their own issues, right? And we can offer love and encouragement to other people, but it doesn't guarantee that the things that we wanted to have come into reality will come into reality. What we wanted to give birth to, how we wanted to move forward, this way we envisioned having, maybe feeling more stable and grounded within ourselves, being in more long-term stable, maybe friendships, relationships, and jobs. It's kind of, we have to keep moving forward to find the people who are more on the same page. The more we heal and grow and mature ourselves and are more self-aware, because the Ten of Pentacles is Virgo energy, which if you do this inner work to free yourself from your more egoic nature, immature nature, bossy, controlling, lack mentality, and learn to love yourself, and also learn to listen to your intuition, and just look at life from a higher perspective, which is Aquarius energy, so that you can put things in perspective, that all these different people I've known in my life, some were loving and just and fair and nurturing and supportive and encouraging. Some people I thought were that kind of person, and I was kind of looking to them to be that type of person, and maybe for a while they were. But then maybe things change. The fives talk about change. You know, we kind of got to roll with the punches and go with the flow, right? And we can either keep being in our ego, which is what Leo energy can talk about, and we can keep not doing this work within ourselves, and we can keep waiting for someone like loving and nurturing to come in our life. You know, we're either looking outside of ourselves for the answer, and we can go look to get in relationships, which having friendships and relationships, those are all good, and we can go enjoy things in the world. But if we kind of get tipped out of balance where we're looking outside of ourselves for things to be the answer to our problems, it's probably going to keep repeating because we're not doing this work within ourselves. And if we were to do this work within ourselves and make peace with, get more balanced within ourselves, is what the sixes can talk about. That, yes, I do want friendships and jobs and relationships, but I also have my own dreams and my own unique talent, skills, and interests. And if some people are like, but I don't want to work on those things, I just maybe want to, it could be considered being more codependent to get in a relationship with someone where I don't have to do that work within myself and I don't have to work through my fears or my insecurities. I could look to that if I get in a relationship with someone, I'm sure it will all go away and all my fears and insecurities will go away because they love me. Well, the only problem is there's some people in the world that are looking for people in that energy. And they kind of listen to their intuition in a shadowy way. Who do I think might be someone who could be abundant in a lot of ways? Stable, grounded, insightful, status, image, money, whatever, that wants to move forward in a relationship, but they're operating just more out of their ego, which can just be their fear and their insecurity, or their pride, or their ego, or don't believe they can manifest their dreams into reality, hasn't learned to listen to their intuition about shadowy people like me. And this can be male or female, because the feminine figures just talk about how people think and feel, and people can harness this energy in a shadowy way. And then they go take action in the world, and either they're more worldly focused and they might have status or image or seem like they're going to have status or image or money or have social clout or something, and that people should get in a relationship with them. And if they get in a relationship with them, they'll have this stability and security or the status or the image or, I don't know, living the dream somehow, right? Or, I will love you. And then sometimes people who are like that, they're looking for someone who hasn't been, high vibe energy is being illuminated to the truth. Not as naive and gullible as you were before, not as caught up in the world and things of the world like you had been before, being in less codependent energy than you were before. And I think, we all go through that. And they're kind of looking for someone who also doesn't know the truth about them. And they could be people who can be quite nurturing and loving in a relationship, which is why some of the people who really are nurturing and loving can get in a relationship with them. But as time goes by and you move forward in that job, that friendship or relationship, the more shadowy people are always up in their head, afraid that the people they're in a relationship will do this inner work within themselves to work through some of their fears and insecurities and self-learning beliefs to free themselves, become independent of those issues manipulating them, and they will look at life differently. The way they used to move forward in life and what kind of drove and motivated them when they had those things that manipulated them, they're no longer like that person anymore. And then they're kind of free of it. And when our own shadow energy is kind of represented by the devil, these things that limit us and oppress us and confine us and imprison us. And we can all get in workplaces or friendships or romantic relationships where it does provide a sense of stability and security. And we all could be on the same page. We all are at a certain stage of life, right? And then we can be kind of loving and encouraging to each other. It's just that sometimes during a relationship, everybody was kind of on the same page in a lot of ways. But as time went forward, here and there, periodically, people kind of get inspired to put in some work and effort to work through their own fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs. And the Virgo energy talks about, it's kind of solitary. It's private. It's just within yourself that you're kind of looking at those things that imprison you. And it's like, why don't I more love and believe in myself? Why do I let these things from the past keep me stuck? I wish some of these people in my life that I'd grown up with or whatever, I wish they'd been more loving and nurturing, or just or fair, but I felt like, I don't know, rejected or abandoned, or, they had their issues. And that's when we kind of wrap our brain around it, that they're a human being just like I am. They had their own issues, and it takes work and effort to work through those issues within yourself. And we kind of realize that some people could have felt the same way we could be feeling right now. Of course, some of those people could be, we're our parents and we're our older siblings or friends or community members. But some people weren't inspired to kind of look at those things, because in our pride and ego, we can turn our back to putting in that work and effort. I don't have to do that. I'm sure everything will be fine. I'm just going to keep moving forward the way I am. And I'm sure everything will work out good, maybe in my more worldly view of life. Maybe not as connected in with my more emotional nature or wanting to tap into my emotions or my feelings. I'm just going to live more from my mind than my heart. And I'm going to focus on these things of the world and having some stability and security in my life. And I'm sure it'll all work out fine. But the thing is, if people have their own past pain, heartbreak, fears, insecurities, ego, controlling nature, bossy nature, self-centered nature, it's going to impact how they work together with other people, is what the Six of Cups can talk about. And everybody has worked with people where they kind of wonder, do they even love me? Maybe they didn't value me. Maybe they didn't, whatever. And I've had people just do this work you've got to get out of your own. Needless, when we're young, we can be very egocentric, and it was all, and then how we frame it, like, it should have been much more nurturing and supportive and encouraging. And maybe, too, as we live more life, and if you have children or you get married and you have a job, you can't sit there and coddle someone 24/7 either. It's trying to give people the love and encouragement, for them to kind of spread their own wings and fly and be more independent. But sometimes when we go out in the world, we still haven't worked through some of those things. And we still have fear of maybe just becoming more independent and kind of taking over that role in ourselves. And in our shadowy energy, we can point the fingers at everyone else and blame everyone else for maybe why we kind of drove our life off into the ditch when we kind of went out on our own, right? And some people, it doesn't matter how old they get. Some people are always looking for other people. That would be like shadowy Aquarius. Well, I was made the center of attention, or I always thought I should be the center of attention, and I still want to be the center of attention. And I don't understand why other people don't want to work with me, because I think I have all these traits or characteristics or ways of being. I indulge myself. That's like shadowy Leo and shadowy Empress energy. I indulge me, maybe in my own self pity, and I think other people should want to indulge me. That's where I like to live. That's the foundation kind of I operate from. And then they just can't understand why other people don't want to make them the center of their universe. And it's like, because high vibe energy is where both people are supposed to be more emotionally balanced instead of being all about themselves. They're supposed to temper their shadow nature and their more hopeful, believing, loving nature to work cooperatively with people from love. And love is supposed to be just and fair, but some people like to present themselves as loving, but they're hiding that they're very selfish or self-centered or bossy or controlling or more materialistically motivated or more self-motivated, and they just wear a false mask. And some people are controlling, and some of those people keep moving forward in the world, maybe playing the victim. Poor, poor, pitiful me. People left me. And then they go to try to get in relationships with other people who they think are maybe in a mental prison about loving and believing in themselves, or if they'll get a job, or if they'll find a friend, or if they'll get in a relationship. And then they present themselves as someone who is more emotionally balanced and stable and abundant than they really are to get people to move forward with them so they look like they're moving forward victoriously and successfully. And the whole time they could be listening to their intuition. Does this person seem to be healing or learning to love themselves or wanting for it to really bring the dream into reality from love? If they do that, I got to get out because I don't really want to do love. I'm just creating the illusion of love. Let's go look at what these cards are. This can mean that you kind of realize as time goes by that you harness these energies differently with some people in your life and you didn't know that. The Four of Cups, the Ace of Cups, and the Queen of Swords, which I view the Queen of Swords as Aquarius energy, that some people you get in a relationship with and you think, oh wow, I found this person and I think we're going to be in this long-term relationship. We're going to be at this job. There's all this potential and I'm excited. We're moving forward. But what we don't realize is that we could have purposely been not listening to our intuition because we so much wanted these things of the world that we're kind of motivated and inspired by. So instead of kind of more listening to our intuition, where it might be like, I think you might be repeating a pattern of the past, because we'll all repeat a pattern of the past until we've seen the truth of it. And then when we see the truth of it, we don't want to live our life like that anymore because we kind of learn the lesson, just like I don't want to act and behave like a 15-year-old anymore. I've already been there and I've done that. I want to move on. And I have no interest in being in relationships with people who act like 15-year-olds if they're an adult. If you're 15, that's okay. Might you drive me nuts? Yes. But I've been there. I just listen to my intuition and temper myself that I am dealing with a 15-year-old. But if I'm in a relationship and I'm like 40 and I'm working in a workplace or family dynamics and people are acting like a 15-year-old when they're an adult, well, that's a different story, right? I feel like, and then you're kind of in a mental prison because like, oh my gosh, I thought I kind of bought into the illusion of how people were presenting themselves. I thought they were more stable and mature and balanced and just and fair and act with character and integrity. I thought they had detached from that old way of living life. But then as I move forward with them and they maybe repeat some poor past patterns, then it's like, oh shit. And that's when you kind of feel stuck because you're moving forward in something focused. High vibe Eight of Swords can be that you think you're going to close out an old chapter of life, that you're moving forward and you're focused on truth and love. High vibe Gemini. And then you get some people in your life that you realize they harness their Gemini energy differently. They like to live more from their mind than their heart. And they might be more about using their words and their mind. It's all about this creating this illusion about who they are, operating more from their ego nature. That it's not really authentically motivated and inspired like by truth and love. And there's some ulterior purpose to it. And that's when people kind of like, oh shit, this person's repeating some patterns of like people I've known before. Could be, again, shadowy Leo. People can be kind of manipulative and controlling, kind of prideful, egotistical, but they want everybody to stay in denial of the truth of it. They could like to kind of be indulged, like they're the privileged person in the relationship. It's a little bit more about them. And shadowy Aquarius can be that it's more about them also, that everyone else is in it, but they're kind of like the shining star. They're the center focus or something. And other people kind of feel left out in the cold moving forward with them. If people had gotten out of one relationship or a job and they're looking for another relationship or job or friendship, and these people present themselves as, I'm not prideful, I'm not egotistical, I'm not bossy and controlling and manipulative or self-centered, you move forward with them because you think the Five of Pentacles in Taurus energy talks about our philosophy of life, and we can meet people who are kind of turning their back and trying to get people to move forward with them, but they don't want you to see that they're maybe inflexible. The Ten of Pentacles can be like, I have this way of living life and viewing life. That's like my philosophy of life, is that I have this way of viewing life. These are like all my truths, and I don't want to give any of them up. I don't want to change any of them. And I'm in a mental prison, maybe about being in deep, meaningful relationships, because that's what High Vibe Scorpio is about. But I'm hoping if I can get you to move forward in a relationship with me, that even though I might be kind of inflexible, might have these things of the world more, or that's what I'm hoping to have with you, the status or the image or being in a more insightful or mature or loving relationship, I'm in a mental prison about still things from my past. But I'm hoping you won't listen to your intuition and we can keep moving forward. You'll keep being loving and encouraging and supportive and put in this work and effort to try to maintain balance in this relationship to keep moving it forward. So it is this kind of like more, they feel maybe more stable and grounded within themselves, because some people are out of balance, and it's always to look to get in a relationship to make them feel more balanced, because they don't feel balance within themselves. They could really get up in their head, get up in their fear. Maybe they'd be afraid. They'd get more up in their lust or their greed or some other habits, right? And so some people's coping mechanism, where some people might do alcohol and drugs, other people look more to get in a relationship to help them maintain more of an emotional balance within themselves. And there too, just so, get to enjoy being in a relationship, makes it look like maybe they've healed or grown and moved on from the past. But for some of them, they haven't. There's things from their past that they haven't worked through. And so they're hiding either that they haven't learned to love themselves and they don't really offer people love, and that they're actually kind of defensive to love, but they don't want people to know that because they want to be in a relationship, but it's kind of like they don't believe in love, but they present themselves as being someone who's motivated and inspired by love, even though they're defensive to love because they get hurt doing love. So I'll be in it, but that's like shadowy fire sign energy that anyone can harness. I want to look like I have what other people have, and I want to be in a relationship, and I want to enjoy a relationship. I just don't really want to be more authentically myself and vulnerable. And it's looking for someone who might be in their own mental prison that will be willing to keep working with them. And it's kind of giving up that dream of being in a relationship where it really is driven and motivated by love. And because I think learning to love yourself is very difficult, and that can take the first 30, 40 years of your life. And we're all kind of really motivated by these things of the world, and we want to be in a relationship, and we think that's the answer. It's not us learning to love ourselves. We can get ourselves in these relationships. And if we're fortunate enough that some of the people in our life, friends and family or romantic interests, really were motivated and inspired by love, and they stay focused on love and work together with us cooperatively to listen to their intuition and temper their ego, knowing that if I act in pride and ego or try to be manipulative or bossy or controlling, these people are going to leave my ass behind, because we've all kind of learned some of those lessons growing up, right? So everybody kind of tempers their being more about themselves, and hopefully it gets to be where it's not difficult, because that's not the type of person you want to be, and you haven't been in that type of energy for a long time, and you really are a person who is motivated and inspired by love and to treat other people the way you like to be treated, and to be just and fair and act with character and integrity. And there's always probably going to be some people in our life that keep moving forward with us in that energy, because they know if they don't keep working together, like high vibe Cancer is working together cooperatively from love, and offer love to it, that people are going to hold their sword up to them. I'm not repeating some old pattern. Why are you acting like this? If I'm treating you in a just and fair and being authentic and loving and encouraging, love is where you're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. But there's some people in the world that haven't learned that. But they might want to be in relationships with more emotionally balanced, loving, warm, encouraging people, because it's great to be in a relationship with people like that. But that's not their philosophy of life. And in their free will, they have the free will to make their life about doing this work within themselves to be a more emotionally balanced, authentic, loving person, or nah, that takes a lot of work. Maybe I don't want to look at those things I keep hidden in the dark. So those things keep manipulating in them, and they think I can just keep doing what I've been doing. Might not have worked with the last person, it'll maybe work with the next person. And they're just looking to find someone who will kind of be willing to settle more for the illusion, give up their dream of being in a more deep, meaningful relationship, because that takes both people being inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness in their philosophy of life. That's how you have a deep, meaningful relationship. Can one person help move a relationship forward, make it seem very encouraging and balanced and loving and just and fair? Yeah, but eventually, even the high vibe people are like, well, I'd kind of like to be in a relationship with someone like me. And I feel kind of stuck. I feel like my dream is never going to come into reality. And maybe for a long time, I didn't want to see the truth. But the person I could be in a relationship with, I think, is someone, they don't show it to the world, but it's a free will choice to choose to have some hope and faith and belief in love. And some people are like, nope, I'm not doing it. They harness the Cancer energy within themselves, regardless of what zodiac sign they are. They kind of just think they can use their emotions more manipulatively in a relationship, just like you can use your sexuality, that's your fire sign energy, in a more manipulative way. That you can use your mind and your creativity and your words in a more manipulative way. And some people, it's like living more from their mind than authentically, going with the flow and just having some hope and faith and belief and love. And eventually, in a more mismatched relationship, both people can feel betrayed Because we can all think that people view life the way we view it. Because that's how we view life. So, of course, we think other people view it that way. And the people who are a little bit more defensive and a little bit more motivated and inspired to be maybe get in a relationship and stay in a relationship more for the ego or the image or the fear, they think you are going to stay in it for those reasons too. And you could have. But then during the course of it, you could have just worked through some of your fears and insecurities and you were kind of ready to move forward in life differently. And then you did want, just like we grow and mature over time, relationships are supposed to grow and mature over time. And we kind of thought that together we were both going to grow and heal and mature over time. And then we can see that someone either wants to keep living life the way they've been living it and they want to keep moving forward that way forever. And it's like, well, I didn't think we were going to live our life that way forever. I remember being in high school and people, just things they talked about, like when they had kids. It's like, I hope I'm not living my life and thinking when I have teenagers or adult children that this is how I'm going to still be living my life. Like, that's not my idea of the dream life. I hope I've kind of moved on and that's a phase of life and then they'll maybe be doing that. But hopefully I'll be doing some other things. But some other people, I guess, are really hoping and thinking that was going to be the dream, to hang out with their kids just like they were still an 18-year-old with their kids being 18, right? But that's how some people want to live their life. And they could love living their life like that. And that's why they want to live their life that way. And they might reject harnessing high vibe Aquarius energy of just thinking there's any other purpose to life than making my life about me or these things of the world or indulgence or whatever. Usually people, as they get older, again, we can all be caught up in that stuff for a long time, but hopefully as we get older, kind of and I do think the fire sign energy aspect within ourselves is probably the last one to come on board, because we're all really invested and we learn maybe more lessons in our heart and our mind and our pentacle suit energy of the earth sign energy. But for us to get motivated and inspired to work through our fears and insecurities, to start listening more to our intuition, to kind of do this inner work to figure out why I do what I do and why I might repeat certain patterns. And then I get in these situations where I maybe feel stuck and I don't want to keep repeating this pattern. And if that means I need to not maybe get in a new relationship until I feel more balance within myself. Because there was a reason why I made the choices I did and why I was attracted to certain people and made the decisions I made in my life. And if I don't want to make those same decisions, those type of people are always going to exist in the world for me to chase after or be attracted to, right? Or keep indulging in some way in a workplace or relationship, right? And I don't want to do that because I've done it enough times. Again, I kind of temper my ego and I realize, it isn't about changing other people. And sometimes, even if you're a loving, nurturing person, you think, oh, but I'm going to love and nurture them and they'll change. They'll quit that pattern or that behavior or that way of being, even though that is the type of person they showed me to be. Like, oh, I'm defensive to love, or I'm kind of prideful, or I'm kind of bossy, or I'm kind of more materialistically driven. But I get in a relationship with them anyway. And then I'm expecting them to change. And of course, they could also know that you're not into the same things they're into necessarily, but they're thinking you're going to change, and that, they have their fears and insecurities of moving forward and believing in themselves and believing in their dreams. So they just think over time you'll kind of give up on yours too. And then you'll all keep repeating this old pattern, staying stuck. And you just keep moving forward like that, kind of presenting to the world how wonderful your life is. And nobody takes this cup of love to look at life any differently. and believe they can heal, or believe in themselves, or believe in their dreams, or think there's anything more than these kind of more superficial and shallow things that they can make more important in their life, or to feel better. And some high vibe people have been in those relationships, and some people are in them right now. And they've been loving and encouraging and supportive. But they have a dream, and they start to see, I don't think my dream's going to come into reality. And if their dream is different than my dream, their truth and why they want to keep moving forward in something, and what they think could be just and fair, and what they could view as victorious and successful, is different than my truth and my dream, and what I think is just and fair, and what I view as victoriously and successful. And they feel stuck, so then they do this work within themselves. Why don't I love and believe in myself enough? I've offered love to people, and some people could be rejecting my love. I can't make people love themselves. I can't make people get out of their lack mentality. I can't make people make their life, if they're consumed by ego and image or themselves, I can't make them view life differently. You know? That's their free will. And you start to realize that, just our idea of the dream life, and if some people are more defensive to love, and it could be where they're more about themselves and their self-protective, self-defensive nature, and they have decided that is just and fair, and that basically people should stay in relationships with them even if they are a little bit more about themselves or manipulative or whatever. Some people could be going through that right now. Some other people did that work within themselves, and they basically told the people, I'm moving forward in life differently. If you want to keep doing this, you can, but I'm not going to keep doing this. And basically from the 5 to the 10 is taking back that 5 of Pentacles. Like, the 5 of Pentacles in Taurus energy can represent all these different institutions of the world, jobs, organizations, communities, family, relationships, all that. I'm not going to keep moving forward with some people. And I'm going to take this time to kind of reconcile myself with the fact that I am letting go of an old dream. But I've offered truth and love to people. That's Leo energy, and high vibes about illuminating the truth, tempering your ego. The Chariot is about love. The Empress and high vibe energy is about love. But I can't make other people do this work. And if that's their truth, that's their truth, and they have the free will to live their life the way they want. And if my truth is different than their truth, and how we want to move forward, and again, what motivates and inspires us is different, what we view as successful is different, I'm going to do this work to come to a place of peace about it within myself emotionally. And I'm going to work through all the different thoughts that could keep me up in my head about it to get clear that everybody has free will. And everybody has to make decisions, and some people also just don't want to make that decision. And some people want to stay in denial of the truth. Well, I'm not in denial about the truth. And I don't want to stay in a relationship where I feel like I'm missing an opportunity in love. And I'm not going to offer a new emotional beginning to people who've already shown me that their truth isn't my truth. Can I be cordial and friendly or whatever if I see them out and about? Yeah, because that's just the kind of energy I like to operate from. I don't like to be in negative energy. But I'm not going to offer them a new emotional beginning because I've already healed, maybe, because Aquarius energy can be about that. I look at life from a different perspective. I did put things in perspective. And I might know some people are in a mental prison because they do kind of repeat maybe some poor past patterns, because, you've either been enlightened to the truth that love is the answer. And so when you're in these situations, you treat other people the way you like to be treated, and you're loving and encouraging and, authentic. And some people, they still get triggered more by their fear and their ego and their defensiveness. So then it's to try to manipulate people to get them to do what they want them to do. And that's too, and you see that, how we choose to conduct ourselves in a relationship based on kind of what we think is just and fair is different. And I don't want to keep in these different type of relationships that I could be in, or workplaces, if people haven't learned those lessons yet. And so the high vibe people are going to move forward and face their fears. And also, why do we sometimes get in relationships with people like, oh my gosh, I'm going to change them. Oh, look at this person. They don't love and believe in themselves, or they're defensive, or whatever. It can partly be because it can be because we have our own issues. But the devil can be things that challenge us in our own philosophy of life. And it's like, oh no, I like to view myself as this loving, nurturing person. You can be a loving, nurturing person. But do you get in relationships with people who treat you the way you treat them? And part of it can be because we have our own issues from the past. Like, oh no, I'm like a loving, nurturing person to people, but no, people can't really love me. No. I have my own abandonment and rejection issues. So I go try to offer love to other people to get them to change. But it's not challenging us to grow and mature ourselves. And as we keep kind of repeating that pattern and we keep feeling stuck, then it's kind of like, I think with how I've conducted myself and things I've learned about myself, that I finally have gotten to the place where I think I do deserve to be in a relationship with someone who treats me the way I treat them. And this whole situation forced me to do this work within myself to figure out maybe why I did get in relationships with people who really didn't view life the way I, viewed it. Why am I not in relationships with people? The devil can be with people that we're attracted to. And again, it could be fear that people will reject us, that it does challenge us to work through our issues. And we work through those issues to become independent and know our worth and value and believe in our dreams. And we start walking the talk in high vibe Taurus energy, where before we might have harnessed a more worldly Taurus energy. Because we've really learned to offer love to ourself and our philosophy of life. And now, we've been illuminated to the truth that it starts with getting balanced within ourself. And when we are more balanced within ourself and have learned to love ourselves, we're able to be loving and nurturing still to other people. But people have to act with character and integrity in the Six of Pentacles, like the Five of Pentacles and the Hierophant. People have to act with character and integrity. And if people present themselves as being a certain type of person, but then they don't act with character and integrity, or in a more just or fair or authentic or loving way, and seem to be bossy or controlling or prideful or egotistical or self-centered, I deal with the truth. I no longer stay in denial of the truth. And I wish people peace, and I move on. And realizing that, when we've kind of learned these lessons in life, we can be nervous about, going and getting new jobs, friendships, or relationships because of some of these other people we've dealt with in our life. But it's like, there's always going to be those people in the world. And I have learned these lessons, and I can take the lessons I've learned to realize not everybody's going to like me or want to date me or be my friend, just like I don't want to be everybody's friend or date certain people. And that everybody's got free will. And everybody is where they're at. I accept that people are where they are at. If it's a workplace or whatever, I am going to work with them to the best of my ability without indulging them in poor behavior or abusive behavior. I am going to conduct myself in a way that makes me feel proud of myself, that I'm being, because the best environment, again, is to be a loving and encouraging and supportive person. But there's people that'll still be toxic to you because they don't want you maintaining balance within yourself. Well, I'm trying to trigger you, and I'm trying to get you in your ego, and I'm trying to get you to indulge me. And it's like, no, I'm going to accept that you're just maybe having a bad day. I have no idea what's going on in your life. I'm not going to play with the devil. If they're that type of person, they know how to play that game better than me. It's kind of like, you excuse yourself, you let things just hang in the air, you kind of maybe go about your business, you speak your truth, you know, whatever. Everybody makes their own decisions on handling that stuff. And it kind of holds up a mirror in front of them when other people won't take the bait or play the game. And it's like, shoot, I can't manipulate and control this person. And if they're that kind of person, if they're a high vibe person, and I'm not being a high vibe person, other people also might have problems working with me. Other people will get more illuminated to the truth. Needless, they're probably going to, well, you'd like to think that people would align with the more high vibe people, but we've all been in groups and workplaces probably where a majority of the people have fear because they're kind of codependent on some people who might have certain talents or skills or power or influence, that they kind of keep indulging them in their poor behavior, and they want to stay in denial of the truth. And it's like, yeah, I'm not going to move forward in this toxic environment. You can all do that if you want, and whoever else decides to keep staying here, but I'm becoming independent of it because I did not have a dream. And I kind of think that if people are being in shadowy energy and kind of creating a little hell on earth, I think my intuition is telling me this place or these people or this workplace kind of have a certain philosophy of life that they keep repeating. And if your intuition is telling you that, that means, I think, that high vibe energy, because at the big picture, we live in a world of duality where positive life force energy and negative life force battle against each other. And we refer to that as like God and the devil. That I think high vibe energy is creating a more positive environment in the world, but we have to be willing to move away from the negative people. If that's who we keep investing our time, energy, and focus on, and energy, we're not becoming independent of it, where we could focus our time, energy, and effort onto people who don't act like that. Let someone else be their friend. Let somebody else learn some lessons from these people. And if that's their truth, well, then that's a just and fair relationship. But that wasn't your truth. And now some people who could have acted kind of immature or manipulative or were full of themselves were tempted to move forward in shadowy energy. Some of those people now maybe could have been hoping to manipulate people to give up their dreams to come back and do the relationship they want, the way they wanted to do it. And now some of those people could be in a mental prison because the people they tried to manipulate, well, they were trying to do things to hurt them and get them in their ego and their competitive energy and their fear and their insecurity. The other people worked through all of that to deal with the truth of it. This person isn't acting in a just and fair way. This person isn't acting from love. This person isn't acting with character and integrity. They're being immature and prideful and egotistical and manipulative. And that is not the kind of person I thought they were. And we have to work through all that emotional confusion of it. And we just see the truth that sometimes people were a certain type of person, but at any time in people's life, people can drive their life off into the ditch. As we're moving forward in life, the devil prowls around like a lion, waiting to see who it can devour. And if they can be tempted by whatever manipulates them, it's kind of like a twofer. If you stay stuck and not moving forward with your life, the devil maybe couldn't tempt you, but the devil tempted them. And by tempting them, if it keeps you stuck too, it's like shadowy people and shadowy energy using the love you have for people to also manipulate you. And that's where high vibe energy is about being independent. I'm going to show you, even though this is very difficult, of how you become independent and stand up for yourself and love and believe in yourself and what you believe in and what you will and will not tolerate. And you are a good example in the world. And for some of those people, the reason certain things and people in their life and things within themselves can manipulate them is because they're not willing to kind of stand up for themselves and what they believe in. They let their own shadow nature run their life, and they let other people in the world manipulate them, and other people in their life manipulate them. And as long as they do that, they're going to keep moving forward in a little bit of hell. And until they're willing to work through their issues, and you're setting an example, because some of these people knew you love them, but you are distancing yourself from them and not involving yourself in their life anymore. And they see you moving forward, independent, stable, balanced, having new beginnings, new friendships, still loving and believing in yourself. And it could make them wonder, why don't I do that? I mean, I tried every trick in the book on them that manipulates me. Why do I let those things manipulate me, but they don't let it manipulate them? And for some, maybe they do that work within themselves to want to figure it out, but for others, they won't. And it was God just wanting you to see the truth, that these people have some things that manipulate them. You hadn't wanted to see the truth because you wanted this to keep working out. But this person is not, in their free will, going to align with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and you needed to see the truth. And that's when God will use other things and people in the world to manipulate those people to get you to see the truth that you didn't want to see, so that you can be set free to go find people in the world that are more on the same page as you. So what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Aquarius energy that they might not see coming? The Ten of Pentacles, the Eight of Swords, the Page of Cups, and the Three of Swords. Why? Because of the Two of Wands. We have to be inspired. Fire sign energy can be about being inspired. We have to be inspired to even want to do this work within ourselves. And some people aren't. No, I don't want to work through my fears and my insecurities and see the things that manipulate me. I want to stay in denial of my own more maybe bossy, controlling, immature, materialistic, manipulative ways of being. And there could be people in my life and in my family or at a workplace that I don't want to leave that job, and I don't want to see the truth of any of them. But you are willing to put in the work and effort to work through those things because you love yourself. The Page of Cups can mean your own hopeful, believing inner child nature that wants justice. And then from the Eight of Swords down to the Three of Swords, it's working through that mental conflict that we have. And the Five of Swords is Aquarius energy also. I have mental conflict because I love some of these people, or I love that job, or, but it's like my dream can only come into reality with other people who are motivated and inspired within their foundation. And High Vibe Virgo is about putting in that work and effort to heal and grow and mature yourself. But you have to first get out of your ego. And some people turn their back on their High Vibe Virgo nature, their High Vibe Gemini nature, their High Vibe Scorpio nature, their High Vibe Libra nature. I don't want to align with my more stable, grounded, loving nature. Because in order to even do that and be in a more deep, meaningful relationship, I actually do maybe have to connect in with my more emotionally intuitive nature, and I could reject all of that. Because in my pride and ego, or my self centered nature, or my materialistic nature, I don't think I have to do that. And if I did, I could find it confusing. I could feel like people would take advantage of me, and I'm not willing to do it. So I keep moving forward, thinking I can just keep living more from my mind than my heart. The problem is they get in relationships with people, and you can wear as good of a false mask as you want. You can tell any sob story you want, but they can't stop other people who are more connected in with their emotions and their intuition from listening to their intuition. And people will maybe be loving and encouraging to them for a while, indulge the devil in a relationship, but eventually it's like, I don't think I want to keep moving forward with this, and I think I'm going to become independent of it because I do love and believe in myself and believe in my dreams. And I think I have more to work with. And that's the thing, too. Some of these people think, no, no, no. I don't have anything else to work with. There is no higher truth or justice. There is no other energy force in the world to work with than what the world tells me to work with. I need to work with these things. But it's like there are people who don't believe like in the coincidence of life, the synchronicity, that it's like these energy forces in the world. High vibe energy is trying to create new things and works with you to create new things, but you've got to listen to your intuition instead of your fear and your insecurity, and you have to put in work and effort. And the other people could want reward without effort, and or just more. They could be people who ignore their intuition. They're so afraid of listening to their intuition because they've listened to their intuition before and it didn't work out the way we wanted. But we've all been there. But the whole point was, we have lessons to learn. What was the lessons you learned? And part of the big lesson for a really long time can be to get people to love themselves and get out of more codependent energy. Because so long as you stay in more codependent energy, there are people out there in the world who will try to take advantage of you and manipulate and control you and use the love that you have for them to manipulate you and keep you stuck in a relationship that's not just and fair because you're letting your heart run your life. And high vibe energy is being balanced within all of them. All aspects of myself are equally important. Having some stability and security and some creativity and imagination and passion and love and logic and reason and truth, they're all equally important. But we all go drive our life off into the ditch in these different ways because we have these lessons to learn. And for some people, I guess they just got too caught up in their ego. It didn't work. Well, I'm done. Their intuition could be telling them, get out of what you're in and quit doing this. And they're like, but then I'd have to overcome all my fears of, and why would we keep staying in all of our fears? Because then we don't have to become independent of it and believe in ourselves and start putting in work and effort to love and believe in ourselves. And that's when we stay in lack mentality. I'm just going to stay here. And that's how some people choose to live their life all their life. But some of the high vibe people, it's like, I have a dream. And if I'm motivated and inspired to heal and grow, mature myself, and learn lessons in life and temper my ego, I want to be in relationships with other people who are more authentic and loving. I can let my more hopeful, believing, loving nature out to play, and I don't think they'll try to manipulate me and abuse me because I think they're motivated and inspired by love. I mean, and again, you just listen to your intuition that, if I think people are being unjust and unfair, in love, I will communicate that I think you are And I don't gotta go the whole rigmarole. If I think they're not wanting to tell the truth, and I think it's obvious they're kind of being manipulative and deceptive, it's like, well, I'm going to be starting to do this work to distance myself from this relationship. I'm not going to indulge people in poor behavior. And for some of you, that's why some people don't want to be in a relationship with you. Well, I can't manipulate you and be the privileged person, and I can't do all that shit that I normally do as my mode of operating in a relationship. No, you'll have to go find someone else to do that with. But they're not as nice and loving and nurturing as you are. Then grow up. What's coming up for the shadowy people that they might not see coming? The Emperor. Why? Because of the Five of Cups and the Knight of Pentacles. Well, they're always going to have more mature people in their life who are being a good leader in their own life, who would like to move forward with them in a workplace friendship or relationship. But these people, no. That would require me to get out of my ego and be willing to admit that maybe I have some lessons to learn, and maybe I have some issues from my past that I should work through so I can free myself from them. But they think they're the boss. They harness their Aries energy in a more shadowy way. And the Two of Wands is Aries. You're either motivated and inspired to keep being more about yourself, or immature, or defensive, or materialistic, or indulged, or you're inspired to learn lessons in life. And eventually more of the high vibe people in their life are going to leave. They see the truth. My dream isn't going to come into reality here. Would I have liked it to? Yes. But I don't want to keep staying in some type of foundation where I'm in a mental prison, because some people want to keep moving forward, repeating these certain patterns of ways of being in a relationship that I don't find very loving. Like, they don't keep things in perspective. Either they want me to constantly be in my ego or my fear or my competitive energy, or bowing down to them in some way. And it's not just and fair. And I can love them, but I don't want to keep repeating this pattern. Some of those people are going to leave. And what they don't see coming, when we're aligned with our more shadowy nature, represented by the devil at the big picture, the devil, shadowy Aries energy, which anyone can harness. Aries energy is about the self. And their own shadow nature and people in their life want to be the boss of them. And they're going to have to learn some lessons the hard way. Things are not going to work out for them the way they think. They can keep thinking they're the boss. They can keep investing in their more shadowy, worldly, all about themselves nature. They can get in new jobs, relationships, or marriages. They can try to show the world how wonderful it is and all that good stuff, but it's a shadowy Taurus relationship, which is where it's more transactional. One person could be loving, but they're not. And that means the other person is kind of indulging them in their ego, and they're indulging in it for as long as those people are willing to indulge them. And if those people ever start to listen to their intuition and decide to move on, then they'll be hiding that they feel betrayed. Of course, they think it's just and fair for them to act like this, because they're the boss. And maybe, they decided to make their life about having this certain status or image or social cloud, or look the way they look, or have the money that they have. And they think people should want to be in a relationship with them for those reasons. But that would be a kind of a more superficial, shallow relationship, right? But they're okay themselves being in a more superficial and shallow relationship because they're more superficial and shallow. But other people feel stuck in just making their life about those things. And then those people leave and then they're mad. And right now they might have some people leaving because, again, instead of operating from love and offering love to it, it's like they had this idea, I know, I'll try to manipulate and control someone or tempt someone in their lust or their greed or their pride or their ego to stay. And all those things, because we all want some of those things of the world, right? And it can put people up in a mental prison because we want those things to work. But you know, it happens over and over and over, and high vibe people don't like feeling manipulated. And is this how I want to keep moving forward? And they do this work and they move on. And, you know, the shadowy people are just working on someone else. Another person who doesn't know the truth about them, who might be in a little mental prison, wants to be in a relationship, wants to have a job, you know, kind of defensive, kind of feels a little left out in the cold. And the devil is trying to tempt them to indulge them in a relationship, a workplace, or a friendship, or a marriage. Presenting themselves as loving, but hiding that it's more because of ego or image or status or something like that. So there you go, Aquarius energy. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.